All right, let's bring them in. They are the hosts of the Game of Roses podcast, multi-time guests on this show, Chad Colchin, Lizzy Pace. Chad, Lizzy, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hello.
Boy, do we
Multi-time
got-
guest.
I know.
Yes, we are.
We got a lot to talk about, and we're going to immediately start with the biggest story, I think, in the Bachelor franchise. And right now, Chad, I listened to you guys opening on Monday. I think you and I disagree on this, so that's why I want to talk about it. And this is what's going on with the Golden Bachelor situation. So we know that Mel Owens just completely went off book with this interview. I'm in agreement with you guys. There's no way that ABC approved this. And just judging by the interview itself, M Go Blue podcast, he was the second guest on that podcast. It was almost like, and if you listen to any of the interview, John Jansen, who interviewed him, clearly knew nothing about the show. He literally asked him, "Hey, do you get to pick the women on your season?" Like, he didn't even know.
Well, I'm glad that he did ask, because we got some really illuminating answers from that.
I know. And it was like, okay. So it just seemed like, hey, a Michigan alum is going to be the next Golden Bachelor. Let's ask him to come on the podcast. And I'm sure this wasn't approved by the show. It's funny that it came out on June 4th, but for 3 weeks it sat there and nobody ran with this nationally until last Thursday. Then everybody did. So clearly that kind of shows that ABC had no idea, because I think if they would have got a hold of this interview, they would have told M Go Blue, do not post this. We can't have this out there. So here's my thing. I know they start filming. Well, it's now July 1st when we're recording this. They start filming this month, I think in a couple weeks. I am under the impression, when I started talking about this on Thursday, I said, man, 10% that they recast this guy. I just don't think the content creators that were talking about it, me and you guys and She's All Batch and Dave, I'm just like, they can ignore us. They can just pretend that what we're saying isn't heard by the masses. But then when everybody picked it up, Page Six, E! Online, Hollywood Reporter, Variety, everybody picked it up. I'm like, they now can't avoid this. And everything you Google about this guy is this interview. So I'm under the impression now I would be more surprised if he's not recast. And I know, Chad, you don't think
I'm with
you.
I'm with you on that. I think they need to recast him 100%.
Now, I think now there's the question. I think they need to recast him. The question is, will they or can they? And that's where logistics come in that maybe I'm not as familiar with. Is that why you're thinking, Chad, that they can't recast him because it's just too close?
Yeah, I mean, they've already started shooting some stuff with him, his promo packages and stuff. And Lizzy said this last night, I think, or in our live or something. She brought up the point that they did the same thing with Kayla Quinn.
It was in a private argument we had on the phone.
Yeah. Oh, it might have been that.
We're constantly talking about it. I was like, yeah, they shot intros for Kayla Quinn, I remember, and then chose JoJo. Like, it's happened before.
The bigger piece of it to me, though, I think, I mean, the reason they did it with JoJo is because they were like, oh, God, she got so victimized in that edit during Ben Higgins season and blah, blah, blah. That was a different reason.
Yeah.
This reason is, A, they have to admit that this was not good and this guy isn't the guy and we made a mistake. Supposedly, from what he said in that interview, he was having lunch with executives saying, like, I don't want anybody over 60. And they still were like, all right, dude, let's roll with this. So they saw no problem with it originally with these ideas that he has. But the bigger piece of it, I think, is the culture of Bachelor, of the franchise, is to sweep things like this under the rug, ignore, pretend it's not happening. And they think the audience is stupid. But I think their bigger problem is going to be with the women. Every one of the players that's about to come into the season has definitely seen this now.
Yeah.
And how's that going to affect the entire, like, no one's going to want to date this guy.
I think there's two problems here. Number one, if you keep him as the guy, and you talked about, hey, they've never, they're good at sweeping stuff under the rug, which I agree with. But they've never had to sweep anything under the rug before a season started. Everything usually happens during the season or after, like the Devin Strader. Oh, he's got a restraining order in college. They still haven't addressed that to this day. That not one sentence. So they've never had to deal with it that way. And I think if you cast him and he's your Golden Bachelor, so many people have seen this to where you're just like, I don't think anybody's going to buy what he says, even if they release a statement saying he was being flippant. No, he wasn't. He said, just being honest, want 45 to 60-year-olds. Like, he wasn't joking around. This wasn't guy talk. This is who he is. This is what he believes in.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is what you mentioned is the women. Do they appease him and give him 45 to 60-year-old women? But if you do, then that's going to turn off the audience, because that's not the Golden Bachelor. The whole point is we only have a small sample size. We have one season. Every single one of Gary's women was over 60 years old. I think that's the point of this show, is we want everybody over 60. So, Lizzy, we're in agreement. I can't see how you can trot this guy out there.
It's against the premise of the show, which is that people over 60 deserve love. They purposely didn't cast anyone under 60 for that season.
Yeah.
It would be wild to do a whole player pool that's under 60 at this point.
Yeah.
And then it's like, what are we watching? I just think it's, you gotta just destroy whatever tape you've already made. Go with the second choice person. They have options, you know. They have the guys who are on VIP.
I really think that you could put it this way: it's easier to recast him than it is to find a whole new pool of contestants.
Yes,
100%.
So he's easier to replace. And here's the other thing I was thinking about. This didn't really hit me until the weekend, when I was like, this has really been consuming me and my podcast for the last few days. Is outside of the ABC event where they introduced him at that Hulu event at Crossover, what has Mel Owens done for this show? He hasn't been on any. He hasn't been on Happy Hour. He hasn't been on Almost Famous. He hasn't been on Susan and Kathy's podcast. They haven't done anything with this guy. It's not like they've been shoving him down our throats and saying, oh my gosh, can't wait till you see this guy. Outside of that April event, he's done nothing to promote the show. They didn't have a Bachelorette season, so they couldn't trot him out there on the Men Tell All or an After the Final Rose. So again, that kind of makes it easier for me to, I think, be able to replace him. But again, I just don't know about logistics. And if they do.
I don't even think it boils, like, logistics is maybe a part of it, that they have committed to him. He has signed the papers. They are shooting the promos, but
he's hosting a group date in VIP.
Is he really?
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. To me, I think it's about something different. It's about the business as usual kind of way they make these shows and how they treat the franchise, which is, like you're saying, ignore everything. Eric Schwer in blackface, don't talk about that. Devin Strader, don't talk about that. I think they are just going to keep doing that same thing, because this decision, ultimately, if they're going to have to recast a lead of one of their products, that doesn't come from just like the rank and file producers. That decision has to be made at the ABC Warner Brothers level. And so far, the ABC Warner Brothers level is making all the decisions we've seen in the past, 3 to 4 years that have essentially put the franchise, I think, in the worst place we've ever seen it.
I'm just wondering how they pass this off as legitimate. Like, I understand that. I think everybody that watches this franchise is well aware that people are going on this to be on TV, increase their brand, probably get some, deals afterwards. But I think when it comes to the Golden Bachelor, it's different, because I don't think any of those people were legitimately coming on to build a brand. And it did have a lot more, while it was the same thing. It was the mansion, it was dates, it was rose ceremonies. The tone of that show is completely different than The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. We don't get they don't focus on the drama. They focus on the backstories of these contestants and who were your life. Charles and never went to prom, and we had widows on the show. So it definitely tugged at your heartstrings more than Bachelor and Bachelorette. And if this guy has already laid out there how he feels about the fact that I don't want to keep anybody over 60, and you got to be in good shape, as great as the women were on Gary's season, they came in all shapes and sizes. There's no way you're going to find 20 fit 65-year-old women and that's going to be your whole cast. Like, he's not believable. Whether they release a statement, whether they have Mel get out there and go on a podcast and say, you know what, if that's the only thing I can think of. But again, I'm not going to believe it. If his storyline is, I said some things and I realized the error of my ways.
Yeah, when ABC told me I had to realize.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, even if
it's unbelievable,
cast people who are under 60, guess what? Eventually, they're going to be over 60. That's how time works. And so, any of these women who are coming in to date this guy, are like, what woman would want to date this guy, no matter what age you are? because at one point you might have to wear a wig. You might need a hip replacement. And then what is he going to divorce you? Just dump you to go back to his 45 to 60-year-old perfect bodied, no wig wearing dating pool?
Well, that's the thing. Hey,
It's
listen, how about
offensive in
this?
so many different ways.
For sure.
Ageist, ableist, racist, misogynist. Like, it's wild. And like, it really feels like that's a kind of line that, comes from boomers a lot. Like, that they probably say a lot of stuff like this. And I'm sure there were things that Gary said that they had to cut because it was whatever. But it's like, this is the only thing we've gotten from him recently.
Well, how about this? Whoever, I mean, I'm guessing they either have already told all the women who are set to be on the Golden Bachelor, hey, you're on our show, or we're in the final stages. We need to just send you the paperwork or whatever. Even though these women don't know each other, they could force ABC's hand and form their own mini coup and just be like, I'm not coming. I heard what he said. Why am I going to come on this show? Unless you think, now I guess I'll just ask you this, Chad. Do you think they're going to appease him and the cast is 45 to 60-year-old women?
No,
I don't think so.
No, I think this is my kind of, I guess, prediction on this. I think they will cast whoever they've cast. Like, that's already set in stone. I think there will be, a number of them over 60 that maybe wear wigs and maybe have hip replacements. Those women they're going on this show, I think, primarily for the experience. Oh my God, I get to go do this, maybe travel the world, who knows what. And they've heard this shit about Mel Owens, and they're going to like stomach it, play the game a little bit. And I think he'll have to as well. So he will keep some people who are over 60 until somewhere through the middle of the season. He'll play that game to be like, well, whatever, I was just saying that stuff, but these women are different. No. But none of us will believe any of it. That's the real, I think, problem with it is we will only be watching this season to see his demise, to see them kind of give him his comeuppance in some way and hope that actually happens. And that's not a good starting point for your audience, I feel like.
I feel like they're doomed from the start by doing that, because anything he says, nobody's going to believe. And since we know, at least on Gary's season, all the women were over 60, he's already said, I'm cutting anybody over 60. So all the women that he does keep, it's just like, he's just doing this for show. When we watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, we understand the premise. We understand, but no guy leading into the Bachelor season has ever been like, I'm probably not going to fall in love with any of these women, but I'll do it anyway because I'm getting paid. Like, that's essentially what this guy did. He completely broke the fantasy of the people that want to tune in to watch older people find love. So, Lizzy, what exactly do you do with this guy? You throw him under the bus from the get-go and just make him
replace.
Well,
where's Charles? Charles is in charge now.
I also think it's weird, like the age thing is like, can you imagine if a younger bachelor or bachelorette did that? Like on night one, just lined everybody up and was like, okay, who here is over 25 years old? You're leaving, Also, like, how is he even discerning this? Is he just going one by one and being like, how old are you? How old are you? How old are you? How old are you? Is that your real hair? Is that your real hair? Like, I don't know how he even would be able to determine some of these weird parameters that he's laid out.
Well, I
the
think
hip thing.
Yeah. Let me feel let me feel all your hips.
He puts them all through an X-ray machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you ever taken a tumble?
Yeah. Well, that'll be a group date. Everyone has to like somersault or on a mat and see who can do it. Like, this is what I mean. He's already made a farce out of a show he hasn't even started filming. We've just never seen this in any of the Bachelors, any of the Bachelorettes.
I agree.
And our first Golden Bachelor and Golden Bachelorette. Like, I don't know how you throw this guy out there. I think they're recasting him. I just don't know.
But they don't like the incentive to do it is still not strong enough. I think there's also this attitude, and to some degree it's correct, that like the reality TV news world, the cycle of it moves quickly. There's always like a new bright shiny thing you're going to be talking about tomorrow. And I think they think this will go away by the time the season airs. But like we're saying, there's so many other problems associated with it that have nothing to do with the airing of the show. It's how do these women feel? How does the audience feel? Is it going to affect who's he kicking off? All this stuff. I just think they are looking at this with kind of an old school mentality. of who cares? Nobody heard that podcast. Sweep it under the rug, shoot the season, get it out the door. But the franchise is in such a precarious place right now. And a lot of it has to do with casting guys who say really problematic shit or have problematic shit in their background or whatever. And this is just kind of like the cherry on top of that shit sundae they've made for themselves.
Yeah,
Lizzy,
it's not a new idea. It's very reminiscent to me of when they did that like casting special in Bachelor season 2, and Mike Fleiss was like, "And they gotta look good in a hot tub."
I'm under the impression right now. Do you guys know, like, when he was announced, I had no idea it was coming at that ABC Hulu event. We just find out one day, hey, they announced our Golden Bachelor. His name's Mel Owens. Well, within a day or two, I found out who his ex-wife was. And do you know anything about his ex-wife?
No.
20 years younger than him.
Okay.
I said it at the time. I go, she's 46 right now. I said it at the time. I said, look, I know nothing about Mel Owens. I just found out about him yesterday, but I now know that his ex-wife is 46 years old. You can't convince me that this guy and they were married for, I believe, 20 years. And by the way, they also got married when she was like 21 or 22.
She aged out of the bracket.
He was a 41. It was a 41 or 42-year-old marrying a 21 or 22-year-old.
Yeah.
And I said it at the time. I'm like, look, I don't know anything about this guy. I'm not convinced, and I'm not going to be convinced no matter what he says, that all of a sudden a guy who's been married to a woman 20 years his junior is all of a sudden going to be interested in 60-year-old women. I'm sorry. And look, he's allowed to like younger women. Like, that's a tale as old as time in Hollywood. Of course, an older man wants a younger woman. Like, that's not surprising in Hollywood. But as the Golden Bachelor, that can't be your stance. It's just he doesn't fit what this show is doing. That's why he needs to be replaced. Not because he likes younger women. Yeah. Plenty of guys in Hollywood and celebrities have younger girlfriends and younger wives.
He should go on Age Gap. Kyle's new show.
Is that what it is?
It's him and Natalie Joy supposedly are hosting a dating show that's about age gap couples.
Good Lord.
They should replace him. They should take him out, replace him with Bill Belichick.
Is this a? Oh, let's get back to this Vile thing. Is this a Hulu show?
I don't know where it's going to be. I've just heard little, rumors to the grapevine that they're shooting it soon or they have shot it. I don't know where it's going to be, who's going to be doing it, but I can't wait to watch that show.
Age gap. The one thing, I mean, literally the one thing that Nick is so insecure about and has been insecure about literally since he started dating her, and now he's going to do a TV show about it, making it seem like he's fine with it. Like,
might as well make some money off of it. But I agree with what you're saying. I think Mel Owens, like, from the start, is kind of the wrong choice based on that. Yeah. And whatever. Maybe that was just circumstantial. Maybe love found them and, we happen to have a 20-year age gap. That's fine. That could be the case. Yeah. But now we know it's not because of all the stuff that he said. So at some point and he even said it again in that interview. He said he had lunch with the producers. He told them, nobody over 60, I'll cut anybody. And the producers even told him, supposedly per himself, you can't use that language. So they knew, as he's saying it, that this guy is probably the wrong guy, and they just plowed forward. That attitude is what makes me think they're not going to recast him.
I got to believe that they just never thought that interview would hit the light of day. Like I said, I think they could have plowed through this if it was just the content creators that talked about this. But with all the national attention, everybody's writing about this now, all the major sites that cover the show, I feel like he has to get recast. And I'm waiting. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting to get the story. Like, Friday is 4th of July. How about a Friday news dump on 4th of July? Oh yeah, by the way, we're replacing our Golden Bachelor with somebody else.
Before they can't just pull the plug. They can't just say he's no longer the Golden Bachelor. They have to have somebody to replace him. This has to be an Indiana Jones bag of sand for the Golden Idol. It must be that. So if they are thinking about recasting, that's all happening now. Like they're going through whatever that list was of whoever the potential alternates were. Are you still available? Would you want to do this, etc. But if that list is not good, is not deep, like they chose Mel Owens despite him saying these things, that makes me think like the alternatives may not be great either. I don't know.
Lizzy, are you going to watch if it's Mel? I mean, you might.
I'm contractually obligated to watch any Bachelor product that exists at this point. So I mean, but I'll be watching it with a very different tone than I watched Gary's.
Yeah.
I mean, that season was so heartwarming. Like, I cried in so many episodes. It was
It's
just like, it was
it's
inspiring, and it's just, this is going to be a completely different tone if it happens. I'm really hoping it doesn't.
totally. I mean, like I said, it's the same show, but it's different because the Bachelor and Bachelorette's going to focus on who's infighting in the house, who's got drama, and the Goldens, the 2 seasons that they gave us. What's the one drama we ever got between the contestants? You know, Kathy telling
Swartz,
saying zip it. Like that's the best they could come up with in 2 seasons. You know?
Zip it.
Zip it. Like, that was honestly the only drama we got in 2 seasons.
Joan Basso said no beds in fantasy suites.
That was kind of
she said that? I don't remember that. But
we
that's
call her
what I'm
no
talking
beds
about.
Bassos.
I mean, it looks like her and Chuck are still going strong. They post they post on Instagram a lot. They seem to be hanging out with each other's family, but I just think that, like you said, it's probably going. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know nothing behind the scenes of what's happening right now, but I got to believe there's at least talks going on of, guys, what do we do? Not just, hey, let's ignore it and plow through it. They have to be having talks about this. And I don't even know who was on their short list from the beginning and why Mel Owens was chosen in the first place. Like, we have no idea. He didn't come from
either.
Jones season.
I know
I think it's the job, lawyer, football.
I think it's that. I think he is kind of like a Gary, or in their minds, a little bit younger Gary, you know. But definitely they were thinking about, all the way up to this decision to Mel Owens, talking to some other players from Golden Bachelorette. Yeah. And then this is, the dude they picked. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think they had some reason to select him in spite of these things he was telling them at this lunch that he claims happened. I don't know. I just think it's unlikely. I'm not saying it's impossible they could recast. I think it's very unlikely.
God, and I'm sitting here going, I'd be stunned if they trot him out there. I don't see it. I don't, knowing the way, like this show.
Think of the media, like the interviews he'll have to do.
He's
not going to get away with not getting asked about it. It's going to be constant.
What interviews?
Exactly.
What are you talking about? You think
When
Grocery Store Joe and Serena Pitt are going to ask about this? Of course not.
You have to do some interviews in the press tour.
Well, he hasn't done anything.
Hide him. He's not allowed to talk
what
anymore.
Interviews? That's what I'm saying. It's like, it's going to be People Magazine, Us Weekly, Good Morning America. These are all controlled by ABC.
But they still have to ask. I mean, if they've run all those outlets have run stories on this, so they're going to have to say, like, hey, you did a podcast where you said this. Like, and if they don't ask, then they're not doing their job. Like, they have to ask.
Their job is to get paid by ABC to promote their TV shows. So I don't think they will ask him that. I think ABC will say, look, this has got to be a puff piece about how great he is and how fun the season's going to be, or you don't get the interview.
Yeah, I guess. But that's why I think they've already lost their audience, because so many people have heard this and they're not going to buy it. ABC hasn't released a statement. This came out like Thursday. Emma and Claire put the clip out on Wednesday. Somebody sent it to me on Wednesday and said, did you see this clip? I said, no. And then I went to the actual podcast because I was like, when did this podcast air? Did it just come out? No, June 4th it came out. So for 3 weeks it sat there and nobody either cared to listen or relay it back to anybody in Bachelor Nation. I mean, it could have been sent to you guys. It could have been sent to Dave. Nobody sent it until Emma and Claire posted it. Someone sent it to me. And then I talked about it on Thursday. And then ever since Thursday, every national outlet is running with it. And I just find that really interesting that, hey, it's been out there for 3 weeks, guys. Nobody bothered to, but
that's what makes me think it was a rogue operation.
For sure a rogue operation.
Because when you sign that contract to be a lead or really to be a player, it's the same. You can't do anything without their permission. Everything has to get approved by ABC, by Warner Brothers for you to go on a podcast, sell a tennis shoe, do anything. And so I think they probably hit him up. Maybe he was I assume he was buddies to some degree with that podcast host, or at least with the Michigan sports entity who's putting this podcast together. And they were like, oh, he's the next Golden Bachelor, reach out to him. And he said, sure, I'll do it. And that was that. So there is at least some cause, I think, on ABC's part to be like, oh, he's in breach of contract. They might be able to throw him away that way. You know?
I brought that up on my podcast because you technically wouldn't even have to go into what he said. Just say, our Golden Bachelor breached his contract by going on an unaffiliated podcast that he wasn't supposed to. We've decided to move on. We wish him all the best of luck in the future. And you don't even have to address what he said. Just say he did an unaffiliated podcast that broke his contract. Here's our new Golden Bachelor. I mean, it can be done. And like Lizzy and I said, way easier to replace him than it is if 20 women that are set to come on the show call their producer and say, I'm not flying out there. This guy clearly isn't interested in me. I didn't like what he said. I think it's sexist. I don't want to be part of your show.
Way easier to replace him than your entire audience also.
Yeah. Not to mention that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Bachelor in Paradise. This is interesting. First off, I need to ask you guys right off the bat to see how we handle this.
Yeah.
Are you aware of the spoilers that I put out there?
I did not look at your spoilers, but I'm aware of a lot of my own.
Okay.
I'm spoiler free. I can also just take my headphones out for a minute.
you can go in the other room while we talk.
Earmuffs.
It's not like I want to talk spoilers with you, but there's the one major thing that they are promoting, which goes into this overall concept of why I want to talk about Bachelor in Paradise and why this could be different this year. So do you not even want to know that, Lizzy?
Is it the money thing?
I don't even know about a money thing. I'm just talking about this change that they're talking about.
What the change?
Yeah. They showed in the latest trailer that came out yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, I don't even know
that
what
there's
was
competitions.
No, well that there is, but so essentially, and this is something that I'm guessing Scott Teddy brought to the show, coming from Claim to Fame, coming from Summer House, but for the first few episodes of Paradise, it's the same thing. It's people come in, they come in with date cards, they ask people on dates, whatever. However, they're doing something they've never done in Bachelor in Paradise history before after a certain rose ceremony. And that is, and here's the thing. I don't know the details of it, but I know the overall gist, which is just based on how it's going. After a certain rose ceremony, nobody else comes onto the show. So it's however many couples are left. And clearly I know that rose ceremonies happen after that. So putting 2 and 2 together, they're not just going to pass roses back and forth. There's nothing. It's like, where's the elimination? Because nobody new is coming in. You don't have 6 women and 8 men, or 8 men and 10 women after a certain point.
So they're going to vote off couples.
There's some sort of vote off where I don't even know if it's couples deciding, some couple getting up there and saying, we are deciding to vote off this couple, or if it's each person in the couple individually can vote off whoever. But there is a vote off situation that is happening this season, which definitely changes the game completely because number one, I think it needed to be done. You couldn't take a year off and literally come back with the same show. You've heard the complaints for 9 seasons. It's like, why are we bringing in people after the 5th or 6th rose ceremony when there's literally everybody's coupled up, one person may be available, and then you get to a point where you say, oh yeah, by the way, now you have to decide whether you want to stay together or break up and leave the show, which also doesn't happen this season. You get to a point where we're down to X amount of couples, both younger and Goldens. Jesse comes in and says it's all about to change, and that's where he comes in and lays out the groundwork for the rest of the season.
I love that they're getting rid of the you have to decide to be together forever or break up forever thing, the false stakes that they had, because obviously Becca and Thomas are together, Abigail and Noah are together.
Noah and Abigail.
Interesting.
Chris Conner and Alana Milner's still together. Even after that, they came in for one night and got ran off the beach by Grocery Store Joe and the Angry Females, or whatever they called that group. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That was
His
part of the
gang of disgruntled females.
Disgruntled females, sorry.
I mean, I always feel so horrible for the people who are last. When you have
you have no chance.
What's their case? McKenna Dorn coming down, and they're like, well, you can go roller skating with Ed.
God. Yeah, those are the days. I mean, I've heard a lot of other stuff as well in terms of like structural changes that they've made to this season, including what kind of happens in the end. clearly massive changes have to be made to Bachelor in Paradise. I think bringing in Scott Teddy was a good idea from a completely different franchise who's going to shoot it better. We've seen Wells Adams going on Bachelor Happy Hour saying, "Oh, we're shooting in 4K now." So at least they're, they've welcomed themselves to the year 2018, which is nice. These structural things, though, are like, from my understanding, most of the show is still pre-scripted love triangles with an idea that you are promoting Dale Moss as kind of like the star of this season, potentially to be the next Bachelor. And now that we've heard Scott Teddy has gotten the keys to the kingdom and he's going to be show running season 30, I'm like, that makes way more sense to me, that Dale Moss probably is your next Bachelor. The thing about like voting out couples or whatever, I mean, none of it's real anyway. I don't think that that's going to make the show better, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's all about the packaging and the editing and all that stuff. It's hard to say until we see it.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to the storytelling and the editing, whether or not the show is good. And yeah, we can just tell by watching the trailers. It just visually looks different. But I'll ask you, Lizzy. I mean, we know it's being shot in 4K, according to Wells, and we can just see it in the trailers. We can see how it visually it just looks different. But for you as a viewer, and do you think, and maybe you can speak for other viewers of the show, do you think that matters ultimately to the viewer? Why that it looks different, or is it still, the camera?
Yes.
You think it does?
Because it's Love Island summer. It's Love Island USA season 7 summer. Everyone is watching it. Billions and billions of minutes have been streamed. Like, people are going to directly compare it to that. And that show is shot so well. It looks so modern that I'm like, it's just going to be compared to it. I would have scheduled it for after Love Island ends so that you get some of that runoff, but we'll see.
It looks like what? Only 2 episodes overlap? When is Love Island's finale?
I think in like a week and a half. I think you're right. I think this Monday will overlap and so will the following. But
the following Monday, the 14th.
Like,
okay.
Those first 2 episodes in terms of like ratings and stuff are, generally speaking, they kind of set the tone for what that season of a network TV show is going to do numbers wise. And if they're literally competing against Love Island on those 2 nights. I don't think they're going to win that competition. So to have it look at least a little more like Love Island, I think it's mandatory. You can't have it looking like some old dinosaur network TV show and compete at all with Love Island.
Yeah. And I think, taking a year off like they did last summer, if you were to roll it back at the same location with the same format, like at least, I mean, maybe it's too little too late, but at least they're trying. At least they're trying to do something different. And you get an audience that's saying, hey, I like this. I can't imagine people are going to dislike the fact that there's now a kind of a voting off aspect to it versus what we had previous that everybody complained about for 9 seasons anyway. Why are they bringing people in at Rose Ceremony 5 and 6 that have no chance of forming anything? And even if they do steal a rose from somebody else, they're now being told 48 hours later, well, you got to stay together or break up. It just was dumb.
I think this boils down to a couple of things, and it has nothing to do with how it looks, honestly. It's how it's produced. Can they script basically a believable love story between 2 or more couples that goes all the way to the end? I won't give any spoilers, I guess, but a question is, can we get an engagement? Is that going to happen? And then the drama, does that seem real, and how is it produced? If you get, in a love triangle, are there going to be 2 guys going head to head or 2 women going head to head or whatever? Can they produce these things properly? If it looks better and there are all these changes to the mechanics of the game components of it, and they can do these other things that we watch Bachelor in Paradise for, then people will be happy with the changes. Oh my God, it looks so much better. It was so much smarter to do this. If they cannot produce those elements correctly, people are going to hate the changes. And they're going to blame kind of like why the show was bad on all these new things they tried that didn't work. But really, those things don't have much to do with it, I think. Bachelor in Paradise boils down to that, like, who is your A couple? Who are the stars of the season? And are they being presented in narratives that are fulfilling and entertaining?
Lizzy, do you like the fact that they incorporated the Goldens into this?
I'm very curious how they're going to be incorporated, because it sounds like there's not going to be intermingling age gap situations. Sorry, Mello. But yeah, I think it needs as much new energy as possible. Yeah, I'm very curious to watch.
I can tell you that we've had some seasons of Bachelor in Paradise. I believe there's been 9, right? So 7 and 8 had over 40 people that showed up on the island at some point.
That's too many.
Season 9, they scaled it back to, I think, 30 total. They really went back on season 9. I can tell you that that's one of the major changes as well this season, is they scaled back the number of people showing up in terms of youngers. So that's scaled back as well. And that's why after a certain point, they just don't bring anybody else on, which was smart. But in terms of when you say intermingling, when you talk about that, are you talking about hookups, or are you just saying okay,
hookups, romantically intermingling?
Okay, I wouldn't say there's any romantic intermingling between the two. Is there a?
I mean, it's the number one question that comes to my mind when they're like the Goldens are coming to sand.
There isn't a romantic intermingling, but when they're all out having fun on a group competition, is there a hookup between a younger and an older? Yes. I will say that.
Yes. Okay, now I'm tuning in for
but it's not but I can say that it doesn't lead to, oh my gosh, these two are now a couple. It is a
right.
I don't know if it was a drunk thing. I don't know if it was just, hey, let's just have fun, but there is a younger, older hookup. Makeout session, whatever you want to call it.
I hope it's Leslie,
take your guess. Who is it?
And Jonathan.
Okay. Chad, do you know who it is, Chad?
I don't, but I've heard something along these lines as well. I think it has to be FEMA and somebody.
Okay. I'm not going to answer. I don't want to. I mean, if you want me to tell you, I will.
I leave it up to Lizzy.
Lizzy, it's up to you.
I think it's such. No, I don't want to know. I mean, I can take my headphones off if you want.
Okay, I'm curious. I'll hear it.
So you can't hear me right now, Lizzy, right? She can't hear me.
No, she's out of it.
It's Sean McLaughlin and April.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. So so Lizzie's off. So they've given us the original cast, 6 women, 10 men. They only bring 2 more men on the whole season. It's only Andrew and Sean, Spencer and Sean McLaughlin, the only 2 men that enter after that.
And from what I've heard, they run off some like big players very early on, like Susie Evans, which
she's there for literally 24 hours.
That's mind blowing to me. And to me,
I thought she would be the star of the beach.
producing.
Yeah, I thought she would be the star of the beach, but
So
well, it's actually her own doing. She rejects roses. She says no. So, I mean, it's kind of her own doing, but I thought she would do better. But so there's 12 youngers from bachelors from bachelor season. So 12 men, 12 women, and 12 Goldens.
Yeah. And have you heard about how the structure of like how this whole thing kind of ends?
All I've heard is they focused a lot more on the couples and didn't force engagements. They were less about, hey, we got to push. We want 3 or 4 engagements out of this thing. I heard it was more just kind of, we're not making people get engaged like we have in the past, you know.
From my understanding, and this could be hearsay, but from things that have come through the grapevine, it's my understanding that there is a, in quotes, winning couple, just like a Love Island or Perfect Match, and that they get money.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. I haven't, I once I heard that there were competitions, and knowing that Teddy came from Claim to Fame, where it's like, hey, run with an egg on a spoon or whatever the hell they did on that show. Field day stuff. And there were monetary prizes, I think, during Claim to Fame. It did surprise me. I know there are competitions.
Yeah.
But in terms of, do the competitions lead to rose ceremonies that allow people to vote off? Like if you finish last, are you up for elimination, or is it a free for all at every rose ceremony? Like those are the details that I don't know, but I do know there is some sort of voting off aspect, and there are competitions because no one else enters the show. So it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
clearly you're not just going to hand your rose back and forth because it's like, well, how is anybody going home at that point? You know,
I'm curious to see how it all went down. I mean, but like the bottom line is this: Scott Teddy is going to be show running season 30 of Bachelor. So whatever happened in Paradise, Warner Brothers and ABC have seen the footage already. They're editing episodes. Obviously, the pilot is probably cut by now, I would imagine.
I would think the show starts Monday. Yeah. 6 days from now.
So they definitely liked what they saw enough to say, okay, we're doing Bachelor season 30. You're going to be the guy to run it. And I think it's Dale Moss has got to be your Bachelor. He's got to be at the top of that list. Him or Blake Moynes. I don't see who else it could be.
Well, I would hope for the other woman's sake in Dale's life right now. She's made aware of this.
Well, we'll see if that's real. We'll see if that's real.
All right, Lizzy, you come back on. Lizzy.
There we go. Way better. She'll come.
Bye. There we go. All right.
Hello.
We're done gossiping about you.
One other thing about the small cast, by the way. I love that they are lowering the number. Love Island USA season 6, I feel like a huge part of why that did so well is they just focused on a few stars and just followed their love journeys throughout the whole thing, and you get to know the people way more. There's no point of just like bringing in people for bringing in people's sake to just be dumped.
Yeah, and that's essentially what the show was for 9 seasons. And everybody would say before the summer started, oh my God, can't wait till Paradise. It's so messy. I love it. And then by 5 or 6 episodes in, they're always complaining about the same thing. We're not seeing any, you're focusing on the drama too much at the beach, and we're barely, the dates on those shows for the first 9 seasons are just like, hey, why don't you go walk over there and get, some, we're just going to have a table set up and you guys have dinner and that's it. Like the dates were literally, while on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, as we know, sometimes very extravagant, pretty woman dates and stuff like that. The dates on Paradise were a joke. And it was evidenced by they would literally give it like 3 to 5 minutes of camera time versus a one-on-one date on The Bachelor and Bachelorette. It's a 15-minute segment,
That type of stuff, though. I mean, like, are you watching Love Island?
No, I watched, you know what I did? I watched Love Island when it was on CBS, and the second it went to streaming is when I was like, I'm out. And then with Big Brother starting next week, I know that there's not going to be much of an overlap because it's going to be pretty much over, but I can't give 6 hours.
It's hard to keep up.
6 days a week.
It's
and I know that Saturday show, people say the Saturday show is pointless. You don't really need to watch that, but I can't do 5 or 6 days a week to one show. It's just not in my wheelhouse, but I know you guys cover it and you guys do a great job talking about it every night. I don't know how you do it really, but you guys,
we're losing our minds.
I mean, I was just bringing that up because to your point about like the kind of non-dates that they would throw them on Bachelor in Paradise, they do the same thing on Love Island. The date that we just saw like last night, for example, was they rode bikes up this little hill and had a picnic on the beach. That was literally the date, and it works so well because they shoot it properly, and the things that are happening in the date, they lead to like a fulfilling narrative conclusion. Generally speaking, when they put 2 people on a date at this point in the season, they're either gonna do what's called closing off, which is like saying we're not going to date anybody else, or they're going to break up, or some like big fight's going to happen. And it fulfilled that promise narratively. I think it's much less about like the extravagance of the date or even the wackiness of it. Like when they made Kenny Brash and Mari Pepin become naked human churros, whatever the thing may be, it really is about like what's narratively happening in that relationship on that date.
Well, fill me in on this when it comes to Love Island. What does America, I know they get to vote on stuff, but do they literally get to choose who they want together, or do they line it up so it's like in terms of eliminations, here were the 3 lowest vote getters, now the people here get to vote who they want off? Which one is it? Or is it both?
It's that.
That's mostly how they handle eliminations.
Okay.
But they did have a vote they've had this vote in many seasons, but where America gets to like couple up the new bombshells with someone. So that basically like broke up a couple.
Okay. But I maintain those votes are all not real. I think the producers do whatever they want and they say we voted for it, and that's that,
They say they let you vote. It's not like it's not letting you vote, but whether or not how do we know that those tallies are accurate?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
One thing we talked about, Lizzie, we'll wrap it up here when you were off camera, was the fact that Bachelor has been picked up for a season 30. We don't know
Yay.
dates on anything, but I'm assuming we're looking at same schedule, filming mid
January?
to late September. Well, filming mid to late September through November, and then you get that start on the Monday in January after the last college football playoff, which I believe in 2026 is, I think it's January. I think the college football national championship, just looking at my calendar here, is Monday the 19th. So you can't start Bachelor until the 26th again. So it looks like they're doing that. But Scott Teddy, who just did Bachelor in Paradise, comes from Summer House, comes from Claim to Fame, has been announced as the showrunner for the upcoming season of The Bachelor. So they're like, I thought that they would wait until, so that the showrunner for Golden Bachelor is a woman named Jessica Castro, who came from Cosmic Love on Amazon. Never watched that one. And she was an EP on Claim to Fame, and she also was an EP on Netflix's Next in Fashion. Did you ever watch any of those shows?
I did not.
No. Outside of Claim to Fame, I did watch that. So basically, it looked like she worked under Scott Teddy or worked with him on Claim to Fame. So she's doing Golden Bachelor. I thought that they would almost put these two, not butting heads, but like, hey, let's film both, and whoever we think does a better job, we'll give the Bachelor gig to. Well, they haven't even started filming Golden Bachelor, and they already gave the Bachelor gig to Scott Teddy. And by all accounts, everything that I've heard behind the scenes was it was well done. It was well shot, like you said. I think Scott Teddy did a better job than what has been done in the past. We've heard all the complaints about Claire Freeland and who's the guy that I'm blanking on?
Bennett Gravener.
Bennett. Yeah, I was thinking of Martin Hilton. But yeah, Claire and Bennett, who had all these complaints against them. The LA Times does this expose, and all these, anonymous producers come forward and say, yeah, it was disaster working for them. They didn't listen to any of us. So I guess we're headed in the right direction, but I don't know. I mean, I guess we just have to wait and see when it comes to Bachelor. But I'm assuming we're looking at the same schedule. Film September to November, start airing in January. I don't see why they would change that.
That works great for my schedule. I'm very happy. I'm obsessed with Summer House. I've been watching it since the beginning. I was so excited when the announcement that Scott Teddy was coming on. I'm hoping they add some of the Summer House elements, like kind of the constantly filming them thing. I think that's something that Bachelor in Paradise lacks that they do in Love Island, is that they're pretty much being filmed all the time. And in Bachelor in Paradise, they sequester them by gender a lot and like don't actually spend that much time together. I like that kind of omniscient camera view. And I think I've been pushing for them to stunt cast Bachelor. So I'm hoping maybe they will do that. Maybe even get a Summer House guy on there
as the lead. Yeah, I mean, this is something we know from the franchise. They just don't like taking people from other shows. Like if you've been on another reality show, at least a popular one, if you've been on another reality show, you're just not allowed in Bachelor world. It's always been that way. But now we have new management and all new producers. Like they literally blew out everybody that we know has been a part of this show for 49 seasons or 50 seasons, whatever it is. So yeah, I guess anything's on the table, but I mean, would you?
I saw the woman from the woman from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is campaigning for herself to be Bachelorette. Taylor Frankie.
See that. Yeah, I did see that.
I don't know if they'd ever go that route, but
I mean, all we have to go off of is
new
their
audience,
and they never have. Yeah. So I mean, what do you think, Chad? Do you think they will?
I mean, it's a question of how much power does Scott Teddy have. I think if I'm Scott Teddy coming into the situation, it's like, I did you a solid. I did BIP 10 with the players you wanted on there, with the Goldens. I did everything you asked. Now, if you want me to really take the reins of this franchise, let me do what I think I need to do. And if I'm him, I want to make a very clear line of demarcation. This is where the Scott Teddy era begins. I'm not pulling from the past. I'm cutting all ties and I'm resetting the franchise, basically, whether that's with a Bachelor from a show I've done like Summer House or somebody completely new, just to say that like we are restarting this thing, a new Alex Michelle, if you will, just like a good a guy who's not from the franchise, never been on reality TV, who is just like a catch. That's what I would do if I was him. I don't know what he's going to be saddled with. Like ABC and Warner Brothers may be like, no, it's got to be this guy or Greg Grippo or whoever. And then he may have no choice. But if I'm him, I'm trying to angle to like reset this whole damn thing, put my name on it, and turn it into something better than it's ever been before.
And I guess we just don't know. We don't have the answer
until we get that
to
announcement, we won't know.
What is his power. I guess my thing is, just thinking about it out loud, the last lead that we had that wasn't from a previous season, and I know some people will throw Matt James in there, but let's not forget Matt James was set to be on their season. So actually I don't include him. He wasn't a name literally thrown out of nowhere like a Andy Baldwin or something like that. But
who was the last one? Can I guess?
Brad 1.0.
A stat. What is that?
I think it was Brad Womack 1.0.
Well, that was season 11. Season 12 was Matt Grant.
Oh, Matt was after Brad. So then it would be Matt. Yeah, because everything.
And then if you want to count Womack 2.0, as you might call it, that was season 15. So technically, but I mean, he was already in the franchise at that point. I believe it was Matt Grant. I think he was the last one.
So I'm reading off from 15 to 29. Brad Flanick, previous season. Lowe, previous season. Juan Pablo, previous season. Souls, Higgins, Vial, Ari, previous season. Colton, previous season. Pilot Pete, Matt, Clayton, Zach, Joey, Grant. Yeah. So it would have been Matt Grant, right?
And Matt Grant was great. Like he was entertaining.
He was funny, yeah. I remember he wound up with Lorenzo Lamas' daughter, and he called her his little monkey. That was that's what I remember from that season the most.
Wow.
I just think, like, go back to the premise of the show. The premise is that they're the most eligible bachelor in the country.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine. I know for the longest time, and I think Chris Harrison had the infamous line, if you're a restaurant and you serve the greatest pizza ever, why are you going to start making hamburgers? Like that was his thing. Or I'm paraphrasing. He might have said hamburgers and why start serving pizza, but he gave that line one time, and I'm like, which is their reasoning of like, hey, we want to cast somebody that the audience is already invested in. They follow them on their journey. It's why it's usually somebody from the top 4. We've met their family and stuff like that. So I get it to a certain extent. But we now know that the ratings have dropped season after season after season after season. Other reality shows, other dating shows. Yeah, the pizza's not cooking the way it usually did. It's like they're getting passed up by the streaming services. They got to try something different. Now, I think I wouldn't have a problem with them going off the board and casting a 32-year-old successful CEO, financier, whatever, versus a celebrity, because a celebrity doesn't need to go on The Bachelor to get dates. It wouldn't be believable.
Neither does a 32-year-old CEO, though.
Well, neither does, but it would at least be a little bit more believable to me that this guy might just be working
it seems
so
more
hard.
like for the right reasons.
Exactly. I don't know. I disagree. I'm watching reality TV. I want to see reality TV stars. I want to see massive players who are doing the biggest moves. Yeah, Harry Jowsey to me is like the perfect Bachelor. Let me see that season.
I mean, but nobody would take him seriously as like, this guy's really looking to find love.
Do people take any of the Bachelor seriously anyway?
But don't they have to present the facade that they are?
Of course, but that's on the network side. That's like what we tune in for, is to see how much of the lie can seem true. And every season it get like the lie is way more, I think, out front than the apparent truth. Like with Grant's season, how long were him and Juliana together? 3 or 4 months?
3 months, yeah.
3 months.
I mean, 3 months from the finale, 6 months from the actual.
Yeah, even Golden, even Gary and Teresa got divorced within 3 months of getting married. Like, I don't think any of us believe that this is real anymore. We're watching it for like people to do big, crazy stuff. Like, I'm sure, even though you're not watching Love Island this season, I'm sure you've seen the Mamacita memes.
Does that involve Huda?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just know the name Huda, and everybody wants her off the show, and they can't believe that. Huda and Jeremiah was the one thing that I heard early on. But is Huda still there? She's still on the show?
Yes. Huda's a star.
She's a superstar.
I see in the Love Island comments all the time, I see, don't cast influencers. And I'm like, everyone on these shows is influencers. I'm just like, to me seems like a dead idea, but
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, I guess I'm just so used to them having this kind of unwritten rule of you were on another reality show, especially a reality dating show. You are not. We're the gold standard here. We've been around for 50 seasons. We don't want that. We want to create our own stars. But now that we're under new management, under new showrunner, every producer's been blown out. I guess we won't know until we know of where this new direction is, where this new lead is heading towards, I guess.
I also think that idea of like we create our own stars. Jeff Probst this past year had like a very interesting quote where he was talking about essentially the rumor is why they didn't have Carolyn Weiger on season 50 is because Jeff Probst has this idea that he's like, well, we make Survivor stars and then they go on these other shows and get famous and fuck that. That idea is so antiquated. It's just wrong. You want everybody in your show to be the biggest reality star on the planet, period. And if that means they go off and be on Traders or they become giant influencers or whatever, you should help promote that. You should embrace that because you want the most famous people on your show because that's who people are talking about online. And it makes more people
are
watch
going to
your
go
show.
back and watch Survivor. Yeah.
It's like, in my opinion, that idea is kind of like it's tethered to these old, I mean, what we would call old shows, second wave reality shows that all kind of like blossomed around the turn of the millennium. We're looking at Bachelor, we're looking at Survivor, Big Brother, all those. But all of these players now have access to these third wave shows like Traders, World's Toughest Test, House of Villains, et cetera, where they're casting wide net. Perfect Match now is a third wave show. They've got Bachelor players on that. It's like you want to have these players on everything you can possibly see. You want them to be famous because they will get more people to watch your show. If the bottom line is, I need eyeballs on my show, then you want the people who already come with a bunch of eyeballs attached to them, don't you? Like, I don't get why you wouldn't want that.
Yeah, I guess it's just two ways of thinking because for the longest time, they never did that.
Yeah.
You know, they just all the cast members outside of a few seasons where, you know, they let Nick come back on back-to-back seasons. They let Becca Tilley come back on back-to-back seasons. But outside of that, Mary Delgado. Outside of that, it's just like every season is just a new lead from a previous season. And 25 to 30 new people that you're meeting for the first time.
Back in the day, man. I mean, don't forget Jesse Palmer, season 5 Bachelor. He was an active roster NFL quarterback when they cast him. That was a level of fame they had never had. Don't forget season 7, Jerry O'Connell, the brother of, not Jerry O'Connell, Charlie O'Connell, the brother of Jerry O'Connell. He was like, at that time, he wasn't super famous, but I mean, that dude was in like, Dude, Where's My Car? He was the villain in that movie, you know? He was famous-ish. They were trying to go in that direction. And I mean, you know, maybe they'll go back to it.
Athlete-wise, it'll be tough as long as they keep the same shooting schedule. Because
Absolutely,
September to November, you can't get anybody in the NFL. Like they were able to do Jesse because they filmed it March through May, you know, back then. And so with this schedule, you'll never be able to get you can't get a baseball player. You can't get or at least active. Can't get an active baseball player. Can't get an active NFL player. Can't get an active NHL or NBA player. Like it's out of the question. So it would have to be a return.
You can maybe get like an Olympian who's not coming back.
Or I mean, well, and even a golfer. You couldn't even do a PGA golfer because they would literally be having to take 2 months out of playing golf where they'd be making millions of dollars. So no PGA golfer would come and film and be the Bachelor for 2 months. So it would have to be a retired athlete, which
they almost did this in season 3. There was a little promo thing that they ran in the beginning of that season. That was Andrew Firestone. But the first episode, it was down to Andrew Firestone and 2 other guys. And one of those guys was an Olympic volleyball player.
I was going to say, wasn't it volleyball? Yeah, I was going to say volleyball.
Dale.
Yeah, it's
Dale Blanton.
Dane Blanton.
Dane Blanton.
Yeah.
Dane Blanton. Did you just pull that or did you Google that, Lizzie? Did you pull that out of your memory?
Chad and I talk about it. We talk about him.
I have a Dane Blanton shrine in my home. No big deal.
My brain is just Bachelor mush.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, like I said, I guess we won't know until we know, but
Yeah.
it is it seems like it's more of a possibility now than ever, because for the longest time it was the same regime doing the same thing every season. Now we've got a new regime.
It's Chad always calls it the Cadillac of Bachelor reality shows, but it's like it's been driven into the ground at this point. It needs all new blood. It needs new everything. I would do also a queer Bachelor. Like, everyone is queer now. Wake up, Bachelor. Just do
you think they would?
You cowards.
Do you think they would on network television?
No.
That's
once
the
it goes streaming, maybe
They
not
should.
on network.
Yeah.
Because I think
Just start with the Bachelorette. Demi
Well,
Burnett, maybe.
Let's move on.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Someone else.
Yeah. Becca Till. Oh wait, no, Becca's in a relationship. There are others in the franchise. There are others that
Caitlin Bristow.
I would literally at this point just be casting off Love Island. Like, I would take whoever, like, just start at the top, go down the list. Whoever says yes first, you're the Bachelor, you're the Bachelorette. There's no reason not to do that.
That's what I wanted to ask you about Love Island. What's this? Isn't there a spinoff show after the Villa coming? Isn't that a thing now?
Beyond the Villa.
Beyond the Villa. And that's going to be like a reality show that follows the Love Island cast members from the future. Okay.
Yeah, it's them all living in a house in LA
together.
They also have Love Island All Stars, which is like a as it sounds, it's an all-star. It's like a game. It's more like a perfect matchy kind of thing.
Okay, but Beyond the Villa hasn't aired yet.
No, I don't think so. Right now,
but
it's coming out soon though.
It's filmed. So it's last season's Love Island contestants now living that they filmed last summer, living in a house or whatever.
It's like the top 7 Instagram follower count people living in a house together.
Are any of them dating, or are they?
Yeah.
Oh, they're all.
One of them is a couple that came from the show.
2 couples.
Leah Kateb and Miguel.
Okay.
And Kenny and Janae.
Oh, are they on it too?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. So yeah, 2 couples.
I mean, that franchise is obviously killing it with all these spinoffs.
And Serena and Cordell, or at least Serena.
They're in it too. Jesus.
Serena's in it. I don't know if Cordell is.
Yeah, I mean they've cracked the formula for what this type of show is in this. Like, what we're seeing right now, I think, with Love Island is the next evolution of the group dating format. It is like Bachelor in Paradise got us here, but Love Island is taking it into the next era. And I think that format will be copied. It will be regurgitated. We're already seeing it with Perfect Match, Too Hot to Handle. The NRU has a bunch of kind of like shows that are very similar. But definitely they understand, I think, on a deeper level, what is entertaining about watching these people talk about their relationships and about each other's relationships. There's also kind of an implicit understanding in that show that part of what we're doing here is fake and a game. And you see that come through the camera. They will have open conversations about, like, well, I know I made out with her, but that was in a challenge, so it doesn't count, because that's kind of an unwritten rule of the game mechanics of that show. Whereas Bachelor tries at all costs, or at least up to this point they have, to ignore the idea that there's any game being played here, that anything here is for anything other than people finding love. Love Island leans into that, and they say, like, yeah, people are finding love, but you also got to play the game of it. And there are these like certain moves that you can or can't do. And I think that kind of open acknowledgement of the reality TV component of it is like what audiences have to come on the ride at this point. I don't think that we can like believably all just be like, no, they're just there to find love and nothing else. What? They got 1 million Instagram followers. How'd that happen?
Yeah, it almost seems like this is a version of kind of breaking the fourth wall of what's dating and are we acknowledging the reality TV aspect of our own show versus 100%. We're just going to put up this facade of, hey, everyone's here to find love. And that's the exact reason why I think they're going to recast. As we circle back to the beginning, it's the exact reason why I think they're going to recast Mel. I don't see it. We'll find out in a few days, I would think. Yeah. Within the next week, we're going to know if Mel Owens is still our Golden Bachelor. Yeah.
They had a moment in one of the after suns of this current season where the host Ariana Madix looked directly into the camera. This was when this player Huda was getting like a bunch of online hate.
I read about
the host looked right into the camera and said, "Don't send nasty shit to these people, you should be thanking them for what they're giving you. The implied line there was you should be thanking them for the performance they're giving you in this game. And I just thought it was like a kind of watershed moment in reality TV. She also said they don't have their phones back, so if you've sent them nasty shit, you have time to delete it.
Yeah.
And I was like, Dark Lord Palmer, or sorry, Jesse Palmer would never say that. Like, they've trotted him out. They've had him do things like this, but it never hit that level of believability that Ariana Madix could do. The kind of like, we want to protect our players, you know?
And the thing we get every season, and I'm sure we're going to get it during Paradise, and we'll get it on the next Bachelor season because it happens every season. The Bachelor ABC Instagram account will post that generic message that they literally just repost every season to leave our contestants alone. These are real people with real feelings. Like,
yeah.
How many times have we seen them repost that?
Yeah.
Basically, stay away from our
Yeah, we
contestants.
put it on Instagram. Isn't that enough?
Yeah.
I really think they should add in, like, there's an edit here. You don't know these people.
It would help. I mean, look, if a troll wants to troll, no Instagram message or Jesse Palmer looking you dead in the camera and telling you to knock it off is going to stop anybody who really has that much hate inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's almost like, and I've kind of said it, like, yes, there are absolutely some wonderful perks that come from being a contestant on this franchise and in this franchise. Many people have benefited post-show from it. But for all the great perks, just know there are some absolute really bad perks. And if you do suffer from anxiety or depression, or you don't have thick skin, it's going to get you at some point. It might hit you in different waves. It might hit certain people worse than others, but you're going to read stuff about yourself that you don't like. And it's just whether or not you can handle it, because it's coming. I don't care who you are. It's coming.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, you guys, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I can't wait for the next week or so to find out about this Mel stuff, because Lizzy, I'm with you. There's no way, in my opinion, there's no way they can trot this guy out there. But I hear what you're saying. But do you think they're doing it? So,
yeah, I do.
Yeah, this will really be interesting. So obviously we'll keep an eye out for this. Thanks again for coming on, you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, man.
You got it,
Steve.
Bye.
Take care.